Hi everybody, I'm Chris. I'm a senior writer at Contagious. For those of you who don't know Contagious, we're a publication based in London. We have a small satellite office here in the West Village, a couple desks in Singapore and one in Brazil as well. And we like to position ourselves sort of at the center of this circle. Consumer culture, marketing innovation, and emerging technology. And I know that's kind of a niche place to be, so I wanted to kind of branch it out a little bit, make it a little more applicable to all of you here. And I think in these little interstices between the circles, there's some really important points that kind of make headlines or thesis statements for stories that we're really interested in. First of all, you have, between emerging technology and consumer culture, the fact that people are adapting quicker than companies. A lot of the interesting things that we see these days are coming from individuals, small startups, very young companies. And so we love stories about that kind of stuff. We like to keep our readership informed of the most interesting things that are happening that might eventually trickle up to the big brands. So we definitely keep an eye on that sort of stuff. Another thing is that for us, behaviors are more important than bandwagons. A lot of times we get pitches on the latest event that happened 15 minutes ago, and what does this mean? A lot of times those things end up being very ephemeral pieces that don't actually add that much to the discussion. We're much more interested in kind of human behaviors, consumer behaviors, what's changing in the world, and kind of what that means for brands and agencies. So definitely looking more for behaviors than bandwagons. And then people value experiences, not marketing. One of our big things at Contagious is, everyone's pretty aware that advertising is advertising these days. The companies and brands and agencies that are doing it best are the ones that are adding value to people's lives. So we love stories about that, and a lot of the things that you'll read in Contagious magazine are exactly that, delivering value to consumers. I just want to give a quick overview of Contagious. I know there's a lot of subscribers in the audience, but just in case people aren't aware. And sometimes people aren't aware of kind of everything that we do, so I wanted to start with the magazine. We were founded in 2004, and since then we've been continuously publishing a quarterly magazine called Contagious Magazine. In that magazine you'll find everything from quick news hits on the most interesting campaigns that we've seen in the last quarter, to 2 in-depth case studies on brands that have been doing it really well for a couple of years, maybe more. We do a sector focus on an industry that's changing and shifting and how brands are adapting, as well as opinion pieces. We do some focuses on small startups, and we do even some upstarts. We look at 17 and 18-year-olds who are making all of us feel like we've never accomplished anything in our lives. Most people know the magazine, and everyone kind of thinks, wow, you have a great magazine. And I love the book, but we're a lot more than that. And a big part of what Contagious is now comes from, there's a quick quote about us, is Contagious IO. IO is our online research platform. We publish daily on it. We publish about 20 articles a week, looking at the latest and greatest in global advertising and marketing from around the world in every sector. So for those that want to stay plugged in on a quarterly basis, kind of know what just happened in the last 3 months, the magazine is great. But if you feel like you need to be a little bit more in the loop on a daily basis, you want to know exactly what's going on, Contagious IO is a great resource for that. And in fact, Contagious IO sort of serves as the center focal point for all of Contagious's content. So we draw things from IO and put it in the magazine. We draw things from IO and put it in our events. We bring it to places like this and talk about it. So a lot of people think I need to get my client's work into the magazine. Actually, what you need to do is get your work into IO, which then gets it into the magazine. So IO has a couple of really cool things. You can customize it so people can follow a brand or a subject matter or an industry sector. Search obviously is very helpful. And then we have a thing called collections, which we make collections and publish to everyone. And then people can make collections internally. So that could be all the things that are going on in social media in Latin America. It could be all the things that are going on in the apparel section globally, anything like that. And then we also have a consultancy division called Contagious Insider. And that can be a wide range of things where we're sitting down with brands and agencies, doing everything from 1-hour trend briefings to longer form innovation workshop type things. So a couple things that have come out of that. I don't know if anyone's seen the Heineken Ignite bottle, but that actually came out of a partnership with Contagious. And the Fly Garage is a program that we run with Mondelez International in Latin America, where we take people from around Mondelez globally, bring them down to Buenos Aires for about a week or 2, and kind of really work on some innovation. And we've come up with some really great marketing campaigns with them there. So I want to talk a little bit about what's contagious now, rather than just saying, here's what we do and here's what we are. I thought it'd be helpful and kind of fun to look at a few examples of things that we think have been really solid campaigns that we loved writing and we would love to see more of in the next year or so. So I've picked out 4 general topics that we think are really great, and then also some examples, one example for each of what those might be. This, I'm sure, is very familiar to everyone in this room. The most famous selfie in the world, probably. We actually were more interested in this version of it, which came from a Dallas pet shelter called Dallas Pets Alive. And this was part of a campaign they called Mutt Bombing. They basically took people's successful Instagram posts, a lot of celebrities, but also just kind of people off the street, and they put in cute little photoshops of dogs, like this one. You can read the caption. It basically directed people to a website where they could read a little bit more about the dog, read a little bit more about the shelter, and hopefully adopt or at least talk about the shelter on Instagram and other social media venues. That's a great example of moving at the speed of culture. I think everybody in this room has been talking about that a lot all day. But it's important to remember that there are ways to move at the speed of culture that don't just involve saying, did you see this? Or tweeting something about your brand and the latest news event. It can be really innovative and really fun and really interesting, and this is a great example of that. Another thing that we've been harping on a lot recently is connected experiences. Obviously, Internet of Things, connected home stuff is really interesting and bubbling up and becoming more of a major player in the tech world. Budweiser did a really great campaign that we thought embodied that, which is their Red Lights campaign. So I have a quick video on it.
Talk to me, Canada. Do you love goal scoring as much as I do? Do you want to celebrate goals in your own home with hockey's most iconic symbol for goal scoring and great times? I'm Ron Kovacs, operator of Budweiser Red Lights. We're a dedicated service that could come to your home and install a working goal light that will go off every time your favorite city scores a goal. I've been crazy about the red goal light my entire life. Budweiser recognized that passion and turned my hobby into a full-blown business. The way you and the guys experience the game will never be the same. I've installed these red lights all over this town, in garages, kitchens, and rec rooms. Grab your little computer and log on now. These are real goal lights, and we are ready to install them today. So let's fire up this puppy.
Must be legal drinking age.
So Budweiser Red Lights is a great campaign. It's also a great example of how Contagious kind of treats a story. So when we first heard about Budweiser Red Lights, it launched just after the Super Bowl, only in Canada and on a very limited basis. So we wrote a quick story on what it meant, how it was an interesting idea, and how it was doing. Then we got in touch with them. We said, we really want to know more about how you made this happen. So we did what we call a strategy and insight interview. We sat down with some of the creatives and the planners behind the campaign, talked about what made it a reality and how it came to be. Then Budweiser actually expanded the campaign. They're now available at retail. They've done some in-stadium promotions. They had helmets with the red lights on top that everybody in the stadium wore. And we've done follow-up articles on that. It's been in the magazine. It's been at events like this. So it's a great example of a story starting on I.O., getting into different areas of Contagious throughout the world. Another thing that we've been really interested in is stories about living services. These are services that sort of evolve based on how the user interacts with it. A great example is iGaranti, which is a mobile app suite from Garanti, which is a Turkish bank. It's the biggest bank in Turkey. But they have this great digital suite of products and apps that evolve. They change based on where you're using them, how you're using them. Basically a very digital-first strategy. We're really interested in that sort of stuff. Google Now is another great example of a living service that would sort of adapt to your behaviors as you use it. And then finally, contextual integration. This is a really huge one for us right now. We're really interested in things that are playing into this theme. That's basically the idea that, for a long time we've separated e-commerce and commerce. We've separated mobile, digital. We've separated print and online. Those are kind of going away, those divisions, and we're really interested in contextual integration that brings them together and plays off of where you're using it, what you're using, how you're doing things, and when you're doing things. One example of that is this partnership with Pantene and the Weather Channel and Walgreens. I don't know how many of you have heard of it, but They called it haircasts. Basically, they used data from the Weather Channel based on what the weather was going to be like in your location, told you what the weather was going to be like, and then also told you what that was going to do to your hair. I don't really know what that's like, but they've done a great job of integrating it into shelves in store. They've done it in mobile apps. They've done it in the Weather Channel online. Basically, preemptively giving advice, mapping to specific products. They're smoothing the path to purchase. And in general, they're rewarding the engagement of consumers. So we love those sorts of things that are kind of hitting people at different points, really building a holistic story. And one more thing that we love, results. So that Pantene program delivered 33% sales increase year over year for the month of July, and then 16% for the month of August. We love stories with results. We love being able to show our subscribers, hey, this is why this works. This is how this works. Contagious is kind of an interesting platform or publication in that we are only subscriber supported. We do not have any ads. We do not have any revenue outside of subscription. So basically, we only write things that are going to be useful for our readers, which is a great place for me as a writer. I only get to write interesting stories that I think people are going to care about. And it's a great place for you guys to tell me why I should care about it and for me to show those results. So I think we're going to open up to questions. I'm happy to take any.
How do you manage that with you want things current and right as they come off the gate? Like, how do we say, hey, look at this great story with these great results from a month ago?
So we have a couple different times when we'll write a story. We're not very interested in exclusives and things like that because, like I said, we are subscriber only. Probably not of interest to you guys to get it first on Contagious. We love to get it when it's starting, right as it's happening. You know, somebody else published it a week ago, that's fine, but we're going to write about when it launches and what it's doing. And then if we don't write about it then, we love to write about it later with results. So that's an opportunity for us to say, well, this maybe didn't grab our eye right at first, or if you send it and we don't write it, if you delivers great results, get back to us and say, look, this did really good things, because that is a much more instructive lesson for us to pass along. We'll also go back and update old stories. Because I/O is such a research and reference-based platform, we'll go back in and say, hey, we wrote this story 3 months ago. If you send us really cool results, we'll say, oh, that's great. We'll just pop it in the old story, and then months down the line, people will still be finding it. Yeah.
I have a question about your consultation section. How do you delineate between articles you're going to write? Like, it seems like a conflict of interest, perhaps, if you wrote about Heineken or Mondelez International, if you guys help them come to a solution.
Sure, we have a very strict delineation between those products. People who write on Insider, if there was a conflict of interest, would not write that story. But because we are very based on our subscriber interests, we don't have to worry about writing something just because somebody that we work with wants it written. We only write stories that would merit it on their own. Yeah. Awesome. Great. Thank you.